defensive line looks deep. I'm a little bit more positive about the defensive line than I was in the spring. I know a lot of people were gung-ho on the defensive line, and they're going to be a pack of wild dogs. I was a bit hesitant, but right now I'm positive with the depth there. I think they could go 9 or 10 deep, Mark, and I don't think that's pushing the Iowa narrative at all. And you look at the time, we can just run through this top 9 or 10 if you want for a second, Mark. You've got Noah Shannon, who the coaching staff has raved about this offseason. And sometimes you got to read between the lines. He's a guy who keeps getting brought up, which tells me he's really taken the next step at tackle. You got Noah Shannon. You've got Joe Evans on the outside, who, he's more of your hybrid pass rusher. He's not going to be an every down guy, and that's okay when you have depth. You got John Wagner, who's a senior, who looks the part. I think he's underachieved in his career in general, but he's got an opportunity. You got Lucas Van Ness, who's nicknamed Hercules by some of his teammates. You've got Aaron Graves, who's coming in as a freshman, who looks like a senior. I mean, I stood next to this guy on Friday. The guy does not look like a freshman in any way. You've got, you just go down the line. Louis Steck is a guy, number 50. Here's a guy who we probably never said his name on the show before because he really hasn't taken meaningful snaps. He's getting a lot of time with the ones right now, and he's kind of an undersized guy, but it tells you he's doing something right in practice. Y.A. Black is another guy. Deontay Craig is another guy who saw a lot of time last year. Now, I'm just throwing names out there, but I do think a lot of these guys have a chance. Ethan Herkett, who got hurt early last year. That's like 10 or 11 guys I just rattled off, Mark. So depth is huge along that defensive line. I don't think it's a concern. Will they have that one dominant pass rusher? Could that be Van Ness? Could Aaron Graves be that third down guy? Maybe. But I think the depth is the biggest thing. They're not going to be tired. There are still question marks, as I brought up earlier, but I was encouraged by what I saw on Saturday.
I was just trying to keep up with you on the depth chart there for the defensive front.
Did I miss anybody on the defensive line on the two deeps? Logan Lee. I always miss Logan Lee. Yeah, Logan Lee. He's another guy who's, Kirk joked about him on Friday and told the media that, he seems like the oldest guy on the team. He's married. And he joked that he probably has got 3 kids in a station wagon by now. He's a big guy. He's a big guy, and he seems to have a real good head on his shoulders, probably mature beyond his years, being married. And my guess is that he's probably a leader along that line. You talk about him and Noah Shannon anchoring the middle, and then you can, like I said, you can throw any number of pass rushers in Graves or Van Ness or Evans or Craig. I like that defensive line. I think this defense has a chance to be better than last year, because there are numbers out there, Mark, that suggest that the defense actually was not as good last year as it was in 2020. And some people may argue that. Well, turnovers were a lot better. That's clear. But they gave up a lot more explosive plays last year. They gave up a lot more super explosive plays. I think they got a chance to be better on that side of the ball, which is great news.
Do they make station wagons anymore?
Well, technically, no, I don't believe so.
I thought we had moved on to the minivan maybe like 25 years ago. And then now I don't even know if they make minivans. Do they? Are we on to SUVs exclusively?
Wow, that's a great question. Do they make minivans?
So I think Kirk he's back in the 70s somewhere.
Well, some would say Kirk is back in the 70s with a lot of things.
That's fine. That's not a criticism. That's fine. I'm stuck in the 70s in a lot of ways myself, so I have no issue with that. Yeah, Logan played 14 games last year. Okay.
Yeah. No, they got almost everybody back. They lose Zach Van Valkenburg, who, it's kind of deceiving. We've been saying this all year, Mark. Well, they lose their best pass rusher. Let's pump the brakes on this narrative that they're going to be better. They lose their best pass rusher, but Mark, he wasn't great. He was a good Big Ten lineman. He was not Drew Ott in his heyday. He certainly wasn't AJ Epinesa or Anthony Nelson. He was a solid defensive end. But I think with the development and the additions, I think they have a chance to be really good. And here's a guy we didn't bring up, 4-star Brian Allen, who enrolled early. And as if Iowa fans are following this, it's a lot easier to play as a freshman when you enroll early, and defensive end is a position that you can play as a freshman. We saw that out of guys like AJ Epinesa. And Graves is going to play. Ferentz made that clear after Kids Day. He was asked about Graves, and basically Kirk said in so many words, we'd be stupid. The way he's performed in fall camp, we'd be stupid at this point to try to redshirt him. And something else, Mark, and this is a good talking point, or maybe a topic for a future video. Don Patterson said to me the other day, and I think he said it on the show. He basically said that anymore, redshirting is kind of overrated because guys with the transfer portal and this urgency to get to the league, if you got a guy who's even remotely close to being ready, there's no reason to redshirt the guy. And Aaron Graves, if Aaron Graves if he's got any chance of playing this year, he's playing, and barring some catastrophic injury, and you hope that doesn't happen, he's going to play more than 4 games, which means he's not going to use his red shirt. Because guess what, Mark? If he pans out the way we expect him to, he's not going to be here 5 years. I can tell you that now. And Xavier Wampa, same thing with him. He ain't going to be here 5 years as long as things stay on track. So those 2 freshmen will play. Drew Stevens is going to play. He'll burn his red shirt. There's 3 right there. We'll see about Allen. I do find it intriguing with the 4-game rule and the depth along that defensive line. You can get pretty creative with guys like Brian Allen. I don't know that Caden Crawford is ready. He's another guy who's a defensive end coming in as a freshman. But that would be the biggest thing I took from Saturday is the depth of defensive line, the improvement from spring to fall at kicker, and then the concern at wide receiver.